Indiana Jones's first gameplay trailer was dropped at that Xbox Developer Direct just a few weeks back. But there's been some discourse online as to should the game take on a first-person or third-person perspective. Join us today as we bring together some of Game Sandwich's finest and pit them against each other in some good old-fashioned gaming debates. Now, why are we doing this? Well, that's because this is a hot topic. What's up, guys? This is Kalo, and normally I'm here to give you the lowdown on all things gaming, but I am joined today by one of the finest Game Sandwich has to offer. Say what's up.
Hey, I'm Jesse Lennox from Game Sandwich, and happy to be here for our first episode of Hot Topic.
So, there has been a lot of talk recently around Machine Games' Indiana Jones. Should it be first person or should it be third? Today, we're here to kind of hash this out. And by a trusty coin flip here, like we said earlier, we're going to decide who's defending what side. I think heads should be first person, and tails is third.
So if you flip, then whichever comes up is what you're taking.
Exactly. Right. So,
give it a flip.
The trusty flip here. So I will be defending first person. Thankfully, because
really? I was hoping for the other, so I'm glad.
All right, this should be good. So, without further ado, let's dive into the debate. Now, I got really professional about it. I made a whole flow chart, everything. You're not going to see it, obviously, but because I got some secrets here. I'm going to lead in with the first point being Machine Games is known for making first-person games, i.e. the Wolfenstein games. I'm a huge fan of those games. And I think, especially with an IP like Indiana Jones, moving away from something they don't know, at least as of right now, I'm not going to say it's going to be a huge risk because I trust this studio, unlike an EA or somebody like that, but Machine Games sticking to what they know about first-person shooters, first-person in general, I think that suits them well here for Indiana Jones.
All right. Now, I totally agree. Machine Games, first person, Wolfenstein, no argument there. What I will push back on here, because I did think about this as well, I had to come at least somewhere prepared on both sides. Indiana Jones in particular, now we don't know for sure yet, but we only had that 10-ish minutes of trailer and even less gameplay. But from what it looked like, we saw some, melee combat, some whip, some set-piece stuff, and I think only one instance of shooting a gun. I don't think there's going to be a lot of first-person shooting in this game, and certainly not as much as Wolfenstein. I'm even thinking maybe a revolver's the only gun you get, and that kind of suits Jones more. It's always been, it invented PG-13, I think. So he's not a shooter. He's not running in blasting, So it's going to be a departure either way, I think.
My one envisioning of what you just said within the movie, it might have been Raiders, where he's in the street corner, the guy with the sword. I think that's going to be the only moment in which you're going to shoot somebody. I do agree. I would say, for the most part, whenever you play a game like Indiana Jones, you're aiming to be him, not play as him, if that makes any sort of sense in the word. You want to embody who Indy is, so obviously you're going to see through his eyes all of his adventures. Third person, to me, kind of just takes you out of that just a little bit. I know practically every Indiana Jones game we got so far has been third person. Also, too, real quick, I'm just going to throw this in. Could we get a better title for the game? I think that's something we can agree on here.
No debate on that.
There's no debate there. But I kind of want to hear what you have to say about this game being third person now.
Yeah, so I'll kind of springboard a little off what you just said about being Indiana Jones. I almost think it's the opposite, where all of our exposure to Indiana Jones, aside from the few games, which are pretty old at this point, and I don't think were ever super popular, and mostly point and click, I think. People are coming at this from the movies, right? And obviously those are not in first person. And the whole kind of idea is we like seeing him in these moments, these larger than life, mysteries and going through all these locations, I actually wanted to compare it to like we know Indiana Jones, he's Harrison Ford. Like we know who he is, what he looks like, how he's supposed to act. That kind of puts you in a tough spot where we know him so well from the outside to kind of go inside. I'm not Indiana Jones, and because and I know who that is. It's kind of like I was going to compare to the upcoming Blade game from Arcane. They're going third person. They're usually first person. That's a whole other thing, kind of in the opposite way. But it's kind of strange to be having an iconic character, but not see them. Like, would you want like a first person Blade? Like, and then all of a sudden, like, well, now I'm not seeing all the cool things I'm doing, or see Blade, or like, and this would be a whole other issues, but like, you wouldn't play Spider-Man from first person, not just because you would throw up, but you want to see Spider-Man,
Oh, yeah, I would get sick swinging around the city like that. That's one of the things in gaming I always think about. I'm like, I kind of want first person Spider-Man, but no, just no.
Yeah.
I think also what you said about you're not Indiana Jones, I think that's the crux of why everyone wants it to be first person. I'm not going out here with my whip and like my cowboy hat. It's a cowboy hat. And exploring the world. Living within...
Cowboy hat, but we'll come back to that.
Hey, I'm all for it. But, going around the world to these big set pieces that they look to establish in this game, I think living in the moment, like even growing up as a kid watching these movies, the idea of being within his mind, and whenever he switches out the idol for the sandbag, and then you turn around and you see the boulder coming down behind you, those are moments within like film, at least in this instance, where you're like, I kind of want to be there. Like I don't want to be chased by rocks anytime soon, but living within that moment and knowing like, hey, like I'm the main character in this instance. I got plot armor, at least for now. I would like to experience that, kind of see what it's like to remove the idol and be up close and personal with these people.
Yeah, another big point I was going to come to, so thank you for going into set pieces. Bringing up that exact boulder moment, could you really have that in first person? Because in first person, you grab the idol, you look up, you see the boulder, you turn around and you're running, and you hear and you see like vibrations and stuff, but you're not seeing from a third person. Like imagine like a Crash Bandicoot thing where like the boulder's right behind you, it's knocking down things, you duck under a thing and it like slams into something right behind you. You can't have these big bombastic moments that Indiana Jones is kind of known for in the same way if you're in first person, because your scope, it's a much narrower frame of view, I'm saying. So how would that work for your big set pieces exactly?
Well, I mean, it seems as if we're building off each other's arguments here, because the one thing everybody, even when this game was announced, this game is going to be Xbox's Uncharted. They already have Tomb Raider. I guess that's the next thing to compare it to. But yeah, like these games would be pretty much in the same category if they were third person. Indiana Jones, Uncharted, Tomb Raider. And I think within gaming, especially, we're experiencing all these different games coming out over the years. Having this, I wouldn't say it's an open world game. You're just going to different set pieces. That's like linear something. I know there's
they had a term.
There's like a specific gaming term. I'm a true gamer, I promise. But the idea, something like that, where it's like you're having Indiana Jones in a third-person game, people are just going to say, all right, Uncharted clone. Like, but it's funny enough, Indiana Jones inspired Uncharted, inspired Tomb Raider. These are the things that, like, people often forget. It's like, Indy walked so Nathan Drake could run, Yep. So I think just out of being, like, not an Uncharted clone, I think that's the big thing here, because again, when you bring up PlayStation versus Xbox now, this is always the debate here. It's like, who's copying who? Like, this is just gonna be the next Uncharted?
I mean, yes, but the only kind of real pushback to that would be that I think it would be a mistake to just go to first person just because they don't want to be the same. Obviously, Uncharted followed Tomb Raider in that third person way, but they evolved that into the big set pieces like prior to the reboot Tomb Raider, which kind of went back on Uncharted and feeding off each other like that. But I think that the third person isn't what people should be. I mean, they will, if it was third person anyway, compare it to Uncharted, but how they use that to their advantage, because I think inherently, obviously, well, coming from the side of the argument, that it lends to more options for a bigger, more expansive adventure. And going first person obviously limits that in some ways. It does open up new opportunities. I think for Indiana Jones, having that just breadth of different ways to frame him, frame the environment, frame the puzzles, the action. You know, we kind of touch on it with Spider-Man, but if we're going to be whipping, how's that going to feel? Swinging a little bit. But I think, you know, I guess I don't have a closing point on that.
Well, just a random cash grab idea here, because everybody seems to be into this VR gaming. I think that everybody wants a big VR game. I see PlayStation with Horizon Call of the Mountain, I believe it's called. Imagine this game in VR. I just something again about having the ability. Grant you, VR, at least in my opinion, is in its very infant stages of gaming. I think it would work. Melee combat you brought up too. Yes, like he's not going to be using his gun as much. Aiming in VR, I have yet to even touch VR first-person shooters, so I don't know how that works in that regard. But melee combat, I think it could work. I think this is something Xbox can look at and be like, hey, like while we're not too much into VR, maybe somewhere down the line, if we decide to get into it, Indiana Jones, first person. I know it's not as easy as just taking the game's code and plucking it into a VR sense, but hey, like you got the framework as to what it could be here, so why not try it?
I will say, like, if this was a VR game, I didn't even think of this. That would, yeah, I would have no arguments there against that, because, I mean, not to go too off on a tangent, because it's not a VR game, but, like, that would just be, you know, like you said, make that interactions combat, but also with what they could do with puzzles with that. Way more options on that, but, I just don't know, like, with it first person as a standard game, you know, we kind of saw the one set piece on the plane, and that looked very Wolfenstein, I guess I'll say. You know, I just don't see like the ability for a scale, I guess I'll say. All the puzzles we saw were like very confined things. Like, are we gonna have a big like zone where like you're interacting with something here and that's moving like a big bell? I don't know. How are they going to be able to make it feel like a giant adventure? Or are they even going to try? Like, maybe they'll keep it small, but I don't know.
Now, just one final thing in like defense of first person. The one thing I noticed in this trailer was facial animation. LA Noire is a game I keep going back to as far as, grant you, it might not be like, it just might be my limitation of technology and what I understand of it. But, like, seeing their expressions, the whole lie, doubt, whatever system, belief system, I just think being, like, but this also plays to your point. Dang it, I'm supporting you. I'm supporting you. No, like, seeing the conversations from Indy's perspective as well. You're getting up close and personal with these villains, with these cohorts of yours. I don't know who exactly is going to be on this adventure, but being able to just be there see the acting done right. I mean, I always look at like God of War, like I look at the behind the scenes footage of that and see the up close like of Christopher Judge and like his serious tone and how everything, it just plays in better, I think. You're in the moment, you can see everything, you're right there. But I'm not going to say I agree with you with the whole Harrison Ford likeness thing, but you might be onto something.
Yeah, like you want to see Indy, you know what his face should be doing, and even in like, I was going to bring up this point. This will be my final point, so we don't go on forever here. But Indiana Jones isn't, at least to me, like he's not like a professional kind of he kind of bumbles through everything. Like seeing him like whip and kind of like stumble in, knock a guy, and then another guy swings and he ducks, and then like the window slams into him or something. Like he's just flying by the seat of his pants, doing things kind of by accident, and just kind of, he's a brawler, and he's not like a super skilled like technical fighter. So like I think you lose some of that in first person of like kind of his improvisational way of going through, you know, everything, running, fighting, combination of the both.
Yeah, that's true. This debate going forward, especially with IPs like Blade, there's more to come out of this. The Wolverine as well, third person. These are the things that I think are taken on a game-by-game basis too. I think in that regard, you know, Wolverine plays like, I don't know, Batman, Arkham Asylum, something like that. Like, fighting, everything is key here, how the game plays. But, as for right now, you guys have your two sides here. Should it be first person? Should it be third person? We're gonna let you guys decide. But hey, drop a like and comment on this here video, and subscribe to Game Sandwich for all your gaming news, rumors, and reviews. I've been Kalo, and this has been your Daily Game Bite, and I'll see you guys next time.